Our next guest tonight, we're thrilled to be joined for the first time all year to represent the Adams Central Flying Jets. We have head coach Michael Mosier from Adams Central. Coach, first of all, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, we're pretty excited because this new system that I bought actually is working. We can bring
after a while we finally on.
Well, this is why we did it, because of those possible problems. And this system that I have has the ability to link you in, so I'm glad it worked.
That's great.
Well,
Coach, talk about this year for you. You know, just I mean, you guys, it seems, you know, we kind of talk about it all year, business as usual for Adams Central. You guys get to another semi-state this coming Friday, run the table throughout the year so far again. This team, I mean, what you've been able to do and just be back at this point year after year. Just talk about your team as a whole and the program that you've been able to develop over the last couple of years.
Well, we've just with some really talented kids that love football, and that's really down to it. Do we have just a great group of seniors? But this group has been part of some really good teams the last several years, and it just really has been that the kids have they love football, they love playing hard. We have a great community down here that supports us. You know, I think it's kind of football's a bit embedded into these kids, and they know what we expect. And I think, again, the continuity that we have and the coaching staff, all of us has been together for many years. And I think we all kind of think alike, and we all kind of coach alike, and the kids kind of feed off of that. And I think that's been a big part of our success, is just our ability to get our kids to believe in what we want them to do. And it's been fun seeing that happen.
This team this year, what makes this team different, Coach, from maybe years past, or is it in a continuity kind of some of the teams that you've put out there in the past couple of years?
Yeah, this team is different. There are some similarities with a few teams of the past. I mean, we kind of run the same offense. We run the same defenses. We kind of put kids into positions that kind of match their abilities. But one thing I would say about this group is they just really love to play together. They're a great group that are great competitors. These are kids that have played for several years on these teams. So the experience, I think the experience is great, and they just love to win. This group is easy to coach. They want to do everything that we want them to do. They're not perfect in any way, of course, but they do what we want. I think that's similar, but yet different to some of the teams we've had in the past.
Yeah, Coach, let's talk a little bit about your offense. Now, you're not, into the quote unquote spread offense, but in some of the things that you do philosophically, what do you call what you run there at Adams Central? I've called it I call it the flex bone. Some people call it the single wing, double wing, triple wing, chicken wing. I don't know, but I guess fill us in and the audience in, and philosophically what you run as an offense.
It's a blend of a lot of things. If you look at it, it's similar to the wing tee. We do a lot of similarities with the wing tee teams. Mm-hmm. If we have a name to it, it goes back historically. We run the Grambling offense. It's a hybrid of the old Grambling system that Rick Minnick ran for years. It's if you look at Rick's offense compared to the offense we run now, the terminology, we still use a lot of the old terminology, but we didn't have a double wing set in those days. We had kind of a little bit of a T look sometimes and an off wing set, but it's officially, we officially like to call it the Grambling, but it's a complete hybrid. And I would say we're probably more like a wing tee offense than anything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's kind of what I would have classified it as. So when
Yeah.
when we've had you a couple of times, I've always said, well, maybe I ought to ask what he calls it, because I'm up here saying it's the old, what they call flex bone, or,
Yeah.
things of that nature.
Scrambling, yeah, scrambling a good term, because you got the handoff there. But we also run the down quite a bit. We run a lot of ice. We run some counters. So I would say I would classify us more as a wing T than anything.
Okay.
A hybrid wing T.
Let me, this question here, because, being a former football coach, I've always had a admiration for the wishbone and some of the technical aspects of those offense. Even that the service academies have ran, and that's usually, maybe they're undersized and they don't have the big, strong bodies, and philosophically you're trying to get them into a one-on-one position, and then, spring one in here. Some of the flip side of that, some people say, well, you can never win a championship or a state championship running these type of offenses.
Yeah.
And here you are just rolling them up. Have you ever had that question asked of you, or have you had people say, yeah, coach, you really need to get with the times? And we gotta put the shotgun in and 4 receivers and throw it all over the yard.
It's very interesting, because you would think that's the case, but I don't. Our philosophy is not that. We feel like we can win championships, and our system allows us to do that. I really believe that we have a shot to win the state. It's a goal that we have, and if we're able to be successful against North Judson this week, we feel like we can do it with our system. I mean, it's a hybrid. We can. We're not against the pass at all. And we may have to pass more, this week or next week than what we have. But I think our system works for us. I love it because it's a balanced look. Teams have to prepare for us differently than what they have to prepare from spread teams. So many teams are spread teams these days, and not everybody knows how to defend the wing T. And so I think it's an advantage for us to do that. We're a 1A school, and it's hard to find those receivers and quarterbacks that you're going to need for that spread offense. Whereas our offense, we can pinpoint different kids, and with their skill sets, we can plug them in a lot of different ways. So I think for us anyway, this works the best. And it's just kind of our philosophy to pound the ball as much as we can, and if that's working, we drain clock and we can score points. And if we have to go into the air, we can. I say this all the time. Someone came to our practice and watched us practice, I think they would be shocked at the number of times that we pass. I mean, we work on we work on our pass game offensively a lot, because you just don't know when you're going to need that. Now, of course, we are very repetitive in practice as well on all of our run plays. We work hard on our blocking schemes. I mean, we spend a lot of time, and we are very, very particular and meticulous on how we block kids. And so that's something, we take a lot of time on that, but we spend a lot of time passing the ball too, just because we don't know when you're going to need that. So it definitely, when we look at our offense as a hybrid, I think we definitely are, but to say that we can't win championships with this outdated, offense, I would venture to differ with that school of thought, because I think it can still happen. I mean, you look at some of the 6A teams. Who is that runs that? Center Grove. Center Grove. They run. Offense is a lot like ours in a lot of ways, and they're doing it at that level.
And
so
Mishawaka.
it's just Mishawaka, exactly. They run that, so it is possible, and I think it's the beauty of football. I think there's so much adaptations and so many different schemes. It's what makes football such a great game.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much variations. I don't know that you can get any other sport, the type of variations that you can get in football. And I think it's what makes people so love the sport. It's so dynamic, and there's so many different ways of doing things and so many different philosophies that I think that's a big part of it.
Well, before I send it back to Eric here, I just wanted to comment because I've had these questions asked of me over the years. And I say this to a lot of people, they don't realize that the spread offense evolved from the wing tee flex bone mentality. Because if you really look at it and study it, it has evolved from that concept. But Eric,
and you see a lot of sports. I'm sorry, you see a lot of spread teams. They run the ball a lot.
Oh yeah.
It's still a goal is to run the ball, and I it's just in a different format.
Buck sweep.
Yep, exactly. It's there. It's there in another form.
That's right. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, Michael Mosier, the Adams Central head coach, joining us tonight on Opponent for the Review. Coach, you move on to semi-state. Third straight year you'll be playing North Judson.
Yeah.
That familiarity. Just talk about that matchup. What you guys are planning for against them. They play against a lot of bigger schools. They sit at 9-4 on the year, but have kind of mowed their way through the postseason as well for this matchup. North Judson, hosting them as well. Just talk about that aspect and playing them again, and really what's been successful for your team against this team in the years past.
Well, I think it's interesting that for the past 3 years now we're going to face each other, and I think it speaks volumes for both programs to get there. It is extremely hard to get to the semi-state. And for them to get it 3 years in a row in us, I think that's a great testimony to like like we're just talking about, two run-based power game football teams. And for us to be there is a great accomplishment. We have a lot of respect for North Judson. They know us by now, and we know them. Their head coach is a good friend of mine, and we coached together in the All-Star game a couple years ago, and have so much admiration for what they do. They do it right. Their kids are a lot like our kids. You're going to have two teams that are very physical. You're going to have two teams that like to, use misdirection and power to move the football. You got defenses that attack and are, you try to use strength and power, and that's what we're going to have. They have a really good system. Kind of like we like to talk about our system and the culture of Adams Central. They have that too at North Judson, and they're going to come in here and they're going to be ready to go. And we have to play our best. The good news is we know what they're going to do, but the bad news is it's hard to stop, and they're going to say the same. So it's going to be a battle. Both teams are physical. We're really excited about a great opportunity, and our kids have to come ready to play.
Certainly. The defensive side, we talked about the offense. You guys just giving up 5 points a game. I think total for the year, 65 points. What is it about your defense year after year, kind of, that has made you guys so dominant in that realm?
Well, I think, again, it starts with coaching. We have a great defensive staff, Coach John Hammond and Tyler Roach and Mitch Hill and my dad, Rod Mosier. These guys do an outstanding job of knowing their opponent. I think the one thing that we can that I always enjoy as the offensive guy, I always feel that by the end of the week, we know our opponent, and I feel confident that our guys are going to put our guys in the right position. So that's a big aspect of it. Is I really feel our defensive coaches do an outstanding job. Secondly, I think our kids just play physical. They play a little bit defensively with an edge about them. They play with confidence. And I think that just that helps. They love to play fast. They tackle well. We spend a lot of time on that, getting our kids in the right position. And it just kind of comes with our culture on defense. If you're going to play defense, these are the type of attributes that we expect you have. And I know that Coach Hammond has does a great job of finding the right kids with the right attributes that he wants to play. And if you can't be tough, you can't be coachable, you can't play. And I think that's just what makes our defense so strong.
Coach, let's we've talked philosophy here a little bit and got educated on how you guys do things, but let's talk about the Jimmies and Joes, as you would say in football. Keegan Bloom, pretty good player.
Yeah, he is.
Tester, pretty good player. Talk about some of these guys that now are, these kids have been playing quite a few years for you. And
right.
This is their finale, I guess you could say, to their masterpiece. But talks about some of these kids that have done so many good things for you over the years.
Well, yeah, I think it starts with Keegan. I mean, Keegan has been starting defensively for us since his freshman year, and then came in his junior year last year and was our fullback. So, Keegan has just been outstanding. A quiet kid, doesn't have an awful lot to say. Sometimes we don't always know exactly what he's thinking at times because he's quiet. And he sometimes we have to get him going sometimes because he just is that type of a kid. But once he turns it on, and he's just been outstanding for us. Another one, again, Jack Hamilton has been a huge part of our success this year. Unfortunately for him, he's been behind a very good group of quarterbacks. I mean, Ryan Black had been starting 3 years for us, and if Ryan Black had graduated the year before, Jack would be a 2-year starter for us and would have done an outstanding job. But I think he's been really the strength for our offense this year. He's just so smart. He's such a competitor. Because I have a lot of confidence that he's going to make good decisions, and he wants to do well, and I think that's really contributed a lot to him. Another big one is Trevor Curry. I mean, Trevor Curry is probably one of our most versatile players. I mean, for 3 years now, he's never come off the field. I mean, he starts defensively at defensive end. He's our tight end, split end. He's our kicker. He's our punter. I mean, he does absolutely everything, and I think his abilities on both sides of the ball have just been outstanding for us. He's Jack's favorite receiver, and he just has a way of getting open and has great hands and has some great speed and has been just a big part of what we do. I think too on the offense and defensive lines, I mean, 2 stellar seniors have been Lane Langwich and Zach Worm. These guys are big solid rocks on both ball and I don't know where we would be without Zach Worm, and he's just a game changer on the defense and offensive line. I mean, Keegan is only as good as Zach Worm is, and I think that's a lot to say because we use Zach in a lot of different ways, and we use Lane in a lot of different ways too, to be able to move the ball and be able to stop and plug holes defensively. I mean, I would say that with those 2 guys in there defensively, teams have a really hard time running up the middle, and I think that's been a big part of our defensive success. So those guys have been outstanding for us, and Tester too has. Unfortunately for Ryan, he's been injured the last few weeks, and he's been nursing a back problem. Tester is not Tester for us, and that's really been heartbreaking to see that for him because he's just such a great athlete, a great kid, and he has not been able to do what he had hoped to do throughout this year. And again, it's just one of the things about athletics. You're never guaranteed anything, and but when he's on, and he's had some great games for us this year, and we're hoping to again. He's starting to feel better, and so last game he played some, and hopefully we'll play a little bit more, and hopefully we can go down to Indianapolis, and he can really help us out. So those guys have been just a pillar for this team. Those guys, all those guys have been a part of this for the last few years, and they're very special. They're very special kids.
Well, I just quick comment here, Eric, and then you can finish up with Coach. But we were talking about throwing the football, and I've been watching some of your highlights from your game against Carroll, which I was quite surprised of that ball game in terms of how much you guys controlled it. But I think Hamilton threw for 100 and plus some odd yards and had a huge 46-yard touchdown pass. And, so those people out there don't think that Adams Central can't throw the football. Keep thinking that, because Coach wants you to think that way for another 2 weeks. Another 2 weeks.
That's right.
Bring those safeties up. Bring those safeties up.
Don't give that secret out now, because we want to lull you to sleep, and then we can pick you off there a little bit. So we'll see.
All right. Well, Coach Mike Mosier from Adams Central, thanks so much for joining us tonight on Upon Further Review. Best of luck Friday night at the Semi-State as your Flying Jets take on the North Judson San Pierre Blue Jays out at the landing strip. And see you down the road. Hopefully we see the Adams Central Flying Jets at the state finals. But great season, and we'll catch you down the road.
All right. Thanks for having me.